Well, we're halfway through the summer holidays now, and we've still got 3 weekly draws left. So today we're going to be going to Gotham City, and we've got Lego Batman and Lego Robin. It looks really complicated when you look at the full picture. Stick with it, you know what we do. We're going to break it right down, we're going to make it really easy, step by step, and we will get there to have a fabulous picture. Let's start painting. So this is today's drawing. We've got our Lego Batman and Robin, and you can see we've got all these different washes we're going to put in behind. But before we start, we're going to think about what the key shapes are. So I'm hoping if you've been with us for a while doing the daily draws and the weekly draws, that you can really look at this now and see these shapes. I mean, these are the ones that really jump out at me. So that is what we're going to start with drawing. And we're going to begin by having these shapes on. So we've really got... we can work out exactly where we're going to put everything on our picture. Let's start with Batman. Right, what I'm going to do first is I'm going to go about 1/3 of the way up the page, and I'm going to do a line, and that's the line I'm going to use for Robin to sit on in a little while. But I'm going to start really with Batman over here, and I'm going to come, if that's halfway down my page, what I actually want is to be a little bit further over, about there. So I'm going to start here. I'm going to draw a line up. And just as I get over that line, I'm going to curve it. This is the edge of his cape. I'm going to curve it. And that'll really help me keep everything in proportion. I'm going to go up a tiny bit. And then I'm going to take a line down. And I'm going to go past that line to there. And then I'm going to go, so it's like a square. If I was taking it as a square line, it would be about there, but I'm going to go up a bit, so it's on a very slight angle. This will help me when I put his belt in. And then I'm going to come in, it's not straight up here. Again, we've got a slight angle. This is a bit higher here and there. This will all make sense when you pause it in a minute, and you'll be able to, I'm not sure that's enough of an angle. I'm going to take that in slightly there. So don't worry about getting it all right and perfect first time round. I certainly never ever do. So I'm going to take it in. That's better. That's a much better shape. And then coming in like that. Right, now I'm going to come in here and I'm going to take a little line up there. And then I'm going to put his head in. I've got a line coming to there. Now from here, it's a big curve. It's going to about there. So we can get that Batman shape in. I do need to make sure I've left plenty of room in here because we're going to put his ears in later. So from there, coming across in a line, and then we'll take that out as well. So we're really getting there with Batman. That's our first early shapes in. Now I want to take from here the line down. And that'll be the other side of his cape there. And just another couple of little things to finish off here, to finish off Batman. We've got his belt. And a line. And then just a little line there. That'll help us. Right, let's move on to Robin now. I'm really happy with those first basic shapes for Batman. So Robin, over here, let's leave a gap here, and then we're going to start with a line there like that. And then I'm coming underneath this. I actually think the shapes for Robin are much harder than Batman, but we'll break it down. And I'll leave a gap, and then I'm going to go in like that. Down. Now don't forget, you can pause this and you'll be able to put all these shapes in and really take your time. I'm going to come up there. Now from there, I'm going to take a line up. And then here, we're going to go like this. Curve, this is the side of his leg, and across. Take it across a bit more, and then I'm going to curve that down there. Maybe out a little bit more. So that doesn't make any sense at the moment. It just looks like random shapes, but it will. At the next stage, it will all come together. Now I've got a little curved line there and another bigger one up there. Then I'm going to take that line across. This time, instead of curves, they're straight lines. Let's probably in a bit. One line and 2 lines there. And then I'm going to go up like this. So I know this doesn't really look like Batman and Robin at the moment, but stick with us because you will get there. Right, so that's all the first shapes in. So if you pause it now, and you can pop those shapes. Right, on this one, I'm going to start by taking Batman's ears up here. Let's really make Batman look like Batman. So we've got a curve coming round and then straight down. We've already got our straight line there. Let's put another straight line in there and then a curve coming round. Oh, let's make those the same size. And then from here, I'm going to take it up and down like that. Here at that edge, what I'm doing is 1, 2, 3, and then we'll just sweep it out for the cape. And from each of those, we've got another line that's going to sweep down. Right, let's put his face in. So if I come up from that bottom line there, I'm going to have a line, 1, 2, take it up a little bit more. If we go for a small line, and then that. Suddenly he's coming together, isn't he? So if we go up a bit here, and what we're going to do is take the eyes out like that. Exactly the same on this side. Take it out. So if you come down here now, I'm just going to curve that slightly. So I'll get rid of that. I'm going to leave that shape empty as it is there. But coming in here, I'm going to now put in his arm. So I just want to go like that, put in that shape. It's quite, one of the good things about Lego figures is there's a simplicity to them, which is quite nice actually. There we go, I'm going to come in and there's his arm. Let's put a few little stripes in here for his belt. I know Batman's belt's a big deal, isn't it? Then we've got a couple of little lines there. We need another little arm in here, so I'm going to go a bit higher there and come round. It always makes me laugh, the Batman, when I think about Batman, because I think of him from the Lego movie, and it was just so funny. Right, there's his second hand. So there's Batman. We're going to leave him now. Let's go over to Robin. So I'm going to turn these basic shapes now into Robin, and I'm going to start with his head. So there, where we've got that line there, what I want you to do is to come down and put in a curve there. I'm going to curve it round like that. And here we're going to put in his sweeping hair like that. He's got quite a style going on here, hasn't he? So sweep his hair up like that. And then we've got another little sweep there and a little shape there. And he's got another little bit here. It's taking him all day to do his hair. And another bit there. Not like Batman with his mask on. Right, and then we'll pop in here. Oh, gone a bit too low there. I'm going to pop in this face mask he's got there. And round. Like that. And all of a sudden, you're going to see Robin appear. Once we put these eyes in. From this crazy little shapes. He's got like a grumpy smile on this picture. I don't know what Batman's just done to upset him. Right, let's come down and we'll pop his cape in. His cape is going to come all the way over to Batman here. Let's sweep that across to there. Right, coming down then, if we start putting in his arms, we're going to have one arm there, round, round and down. We've already got that bit of the arm in. And this arm here is going to come up. And there we've got that shape. And then you've got those distinctive Lego hands. Here we go. So it's like a horseshoe really shape, isn't it? Coming round, and exactly the same down here. Let's get that shape in. So here on his sort of tunic top that he's wearing, I'm going to take that around there like that. What we need is, we've got these little stripes, 1, 2, 3, and then a circle. Almost done now. So coming in here, let's pop a foot on. Got that knee coming round, so that's all done. Got a little shape here, and then if we put that foot in there, all we need is that and that, and then we've got our Robin. So that's this next set of shapes in. So we've got Batman and Robin. All we need to do now is join them with a moon. So I'm going to come in here with the start of the moon. If Elizabeth doesn't mind, I'm going to turn the page slightly. You can see how loosely I'm holding my pencil to get this curve in. I'm going to take it from here, and I want it to go up to there. We've got a huge, big moon in. There we go. And that's the end of that stage. Well, he wouldn't be Batman, would he, until we've put the bat on. So coming here, what I want you to do is to start with a little rectangle there. Point it down, come up, and we'll put the bat ears on. And then for the wings, it's exactly the same on each side. That one's going to go up and round. That side's going to go up and round, and then down. 2, 3. And we'll just echo that on this side. And take that round. So there's his baton. Oh, it sounds like I'm saying baton. I'm not saying baton, bat. Right, let's come over here and we'll give Robin his belt. So it's just 2 lines coming out. And a couple of small lines there. So that's that done. Now we want some more bats up here in the moon. And with these ones, it's almost like we're going to just do this thin, almost carrot shape, really. And then from each side, we're just going to take it down and down, and then just go 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So there's one bat. Exactly the same now again. Sort of carrot shape with the bat ears. 2 big curves out, and then 1. Well, let's do 4 on this one. He can be a really big bat. So that's another bat. Okay, if we do here, we've got these ones are just in the distance, so you can't really see them. And we'll finish with a little tiny one here. Exactly the same. 2 lines going around, and then 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So that's our bats in. Now we've just got a few shapes to finish off. We've got 2 of these shapes here coming out, and then we've got these, I think it's like a gas attack in Gotham City, this one's called. So we've got these shapes here as if there's gas. Here we go. Kind of cartoon gas. Elizabeth's a scientist, so I know she's sitting here thinking you can't actually see gas. But here we go, it's cartoon, Elizabeth, you know that, don't you? Right, so we've got those shapes there, and then coming in here, I've got this here on the floor. The sharp spikes, so it's very different from that with the curves. And the very last bit, we've got another few bits here, like that 1, 2, and then to finish it off, here we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, and the very last one here at the bottom. 2, 3, and I'm going to take it so that it crosses over there. And that is the end of the drawing. So let's get the paints out. Let's start painting. So I'm using my small watercolour palette of paints here. So I've been using watercolour paper. So this is a really heavy based paper which we sell on our website. And when you've got paper like this, you really could pour water on it, it'll just run off it. So it's very different from using a piece of sort of, thin photocopy type paper where it will just sink in and all wrinkle. So the key is always with paints to use the right paper, and you can get that on our website. And then our palette of paints, which we also sell here. And I'm just going to use a pipette here just for ease. You can just do, usually I do this with a brush. As Elizabeth just said, please just use a pipette, Mum. So I'm going to do 3 washes here, actually possibly even 4. So I've got plenty of water there. And I'm going to begin by mixing a very pale skin colour. So all I'm going to do for that is, I've got far too much water in there. I'll lift it off. Just don't need a bit of water because I need very little paint for this. A bit of yellow and a bit of the red for this very pale. I know it looks orange there, but that's actually fine. That's kind of what I'm going for. So I'm going to carefully, using my middle brush here, I'm just going to go around Robin's mask there like that. And then all I'm doing for Batman is this bit here. Okay, so that's done, easy peasy. So what I'm going to do now is just get rid of that because I need the paint on the room on my palette. I'm going to take this blue up here. So I'm just using the lid. If you've got a palette, you can use a palette as well. But the lid will split it into different sections and it will keep the paint apart. So I'm going to go with a blue now. Let's start with a blue here. It's a super bright blue here. I will always test it on my paper. I think that's just too bright and I want something that looks a bit more night skyish. So I'm going to go in here with this purpley blue and I will add that. Let's see. You see the difference? That's the colour I want. So I'm going to go with this. And what I'm going to do is paint this bit here. So I'm using a really big brush. Here you just use whatever brush you can get hold of, but when you're doing background, you don't want to be using a really small one. I'm going round these here, and this will give us a really bold background to our painting. And you can see this is the reason why the paint's sitting so nicely. It's nothing to do with how I'm painting it. It's purely because of the paper, because I've got this really good paper here. Right, and I'm going to go round there like that. That's the edge of my moon. Probably have just gone over it a bit there, but it doesn't matter. Okay, coming round here now. I'm just going to put in this bit. Just a bit there. And then finishing the blue off here. I want to go round these. They're a bit of a pain. Go around that and round its hand. Up here. So make sure you mix plenty of your wash because you don't want to run out. I think I'm just about going to do it, but it's more by luck really, because there's not really enough wash there. I'm going to come in here. Like that. Done. So there's my blue. Now I want the moon and all the gases around to be lots of different greens and yellows. So what I'm going to do for that is make sure my brush is really clean because it's really not at the moment. Go into my green here. Going for that sort of green. This is a bit too bright really. It's not exactly the colour I want. So clean my brush. I'm going to go into the yellow. Elizabeth's looking down there thinking, you didn't clean your brush that well. There we go. I think that's, what do we think? That's better. So dull it down a little bit with a bit more yellow. And then I'm going to make one here that is mainly yellow with a touch of the green in. I'll just put a bit of green in like that. And between those two colours, this will give us what we want here, between the greens and the blues. Now the key here for me is that I don't touch the blue because I don't want them merging into each other, and I'm going to paint over the bats. So I'm going to come here. You see that tiny line there that I'm going to leave just if you've had time and you've left it to dry, it's fine, you can go right to the edge, but and the same round Robin's face. It's just because I'm trying to do mine quickly and I don't want them to run into each other. And I'm just going to paint that whole thing, and then I'm going to drop some of that green in as well. And I'm actually, when I've got it all in, I'm going to drop a bit of the blue in as well. So plenty of the green and yellow. Just if we go right up here at the edge, I'm just going to drop a touch of blue, not much, just a touch around the edges. There, like that, and then I'll go in with some water to water that down, just to make it look a little bit more interesting. Right, I'm now going to just do these bits here. So I'm going to start again. I don't want them to go in, so I'm going to go slightly to the inside of that with that bit there. I'm doing it all in the light colour first, and then I'm just going to drop bits of the other one in. This is such a fluorescent green, isn't it? It really makes me think of Batman comics.
Neon.
It is neon. And that's the addition of the yellow. So it's the yellow going into the sap green that'll give you that neon look. Right, we'll come down here. Almost finished on this now. Dropping some of the darker green in. Okay, and I've got this bit here now. Just coming towards the edge. Oh, see, even though I was being super careful there, a bit of that blue got in, but it's fine, I'm not bothered. Drop a bit of the green. A little bit here. There are lots and lots of paint on this picture. So each time, put a bit of your darker green in. Got a bit here. A bit there. Right, this is the last bit now, I think. Just down here. And then here we go. There we go. And so I'm going to mix a nice grey now. Probably done a bit too much there with that. I'm going to go into my black. I just add a touch. I'll be careful not to go too much here because it'll very quickly turn to black, but that's pretty much what I want, which is this grey. Let's go for a little bit more. That's it. Right. Now all I'm going to do here, might go for a slightly thinner brush possibly, is making sure that this is dry. I'm going to come, oops. You can see the blue's still slightly wet there, so really make sure it's dry. Let's swap to a slightly thinner brush, that might help. Yes, that definitely helps. I'm going to go around his eyes because I want to keep those where they're kind of just the paper coming through. Batman's blank staring eyes. I'll just get this grey in. I'm going to go down and do the same here on his neck. I'm going to go straight over the bat because we're going to do that with a Sharpie or with paint if you've not got a Sharpie or any kind of felt tip. I'll just put this grey in here. Leaving the space for the yellow. But then everything else is going to be either grey or black. So I'm just going to come in here. Go right to the edge of the cloak. The only thing I'm really making sure I'm leaving clear there is that yellow bit for the belt. And we're going to put the black cloak in a minute when the grey is completely dry. Okay, and we've got more bits of grey just here and there across the painting. We've got these hands of Robin are grey, so I'll do those quickly. That blue doesn't want to dry. And I'm going to actually do his hair. Start it off with some grey, but I am going to put some darker black in there in a minute. In fact, I'll do that now. Just go straight in with some black. Might have been a bit much. So can you see? There's a little technique I'll teach you. Dry brush. Go like that, and you can lift it out. If you've gone too hot, too much, you can lift it out with your dry brush, like that. Okay, and the last bit of grey here is this bit of concrete around there. So I'm just going to go up to the edge of his foot, round what's going to be this flash here. And that's the grey done. It'll dry quite quickly, that, so I'm going to leave it to dry for a minute before I come on to the next bit. I've dried that. That's nice and dry now. If it's a sunny day, it'll dry quite nicely outside in the sunshine. Or you can pat it. If it seems to be taking forever because there's so much water pooled, you can just get your kitchen roll and just pat it dry. Artist's best friend, as always, comes to the rescue. Right, I'm going to go in and make a really strong yellow wash now. Lots of paint I want in that. And that's going to be Batman's belt. Oh, look at that. That is luminescent, isn't it? Batman's belt. We've got here, this bit here. For Robin's cloak. That blue wants to get into everything, doesn't it? And then the last bit of yellow here is there. Oh, let's not forget Robin's belt as well. And these two things here. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a touch of the orange here into it, just to darken it up slightly. And then I'm going to put this bit, no it's not, it looks too much the same. That's better. So it's just a bit darker, it's the inside of his cape. Here. Looks like we've got loads of painting to do, but actually we're really getting there now. So I'm going to make sure my brush is thoroughly clean. And while that yellow is drying over there so we can finish Robin off, I'm going to come over here and finish Batman off. And what I'm going to do is go into my black there, and I'm going to turn what was grey and make it really dark. So I want as much black pigment as I can. And then what we're going to do is we're going to paint the cape. Paint that in. Yeah. Paint the side of Batman's head here. We'll do the back, why not? I was going to do it with a pen, but I might as well just do it with paint. If you find that a bit hard, you always use a smaller brush. But actually any brush, if you hold it very lightly, so only the tip's touching, you can make any brush quite small. Right, then we've got this last bit of the cape here. Just pop that in there. Don't want to get black onto Robin's orange yellow cape, so I'll try and leave a little gap because that's still drying. That is Batman's black in. Right, I'm now going to come here and I'm going to do Robin's mask. Super carefully there. Again, if you feel more comfortable, you could always do that with a pen. And then I've got the bats in the moon. So you could do them with pen, or you can just go into your black paint. I'll probably do the little ones, those ones with a pen. I'm actually going to just go straight into my black paint into the palette for this, so it's nice and dark. If you want, you can put more bats in. You can put them everywhere if you like. Just have a bat fest. There we go. And I'll just let that dry for a second. Right, I'm going to mix the green now for Robin's clothes. And I'm using my really super bright green here. Let me see. And it's just for his sleeves. Because the sort of jerkin bit of it is actually red, bright red, and we'll come on to that when this green's dry. Now, we haven't done most of the daily draws we've done, we've used our watercolour pencils, and Elizabeth and I had a long discussion about this, and if you want to, you can use your watercolour pencils. We just thought, because we had the palette, and just to make it a bit different from the others, we were going to do all this in paint, just to show you that if you've not got the pencils and you've got the paints, you can do pretty much everything using your paint palette. Okay, I'll just put that arm in there. And then while that's drying, I'm going to mix myself a slightly darker grey. So I'm going to take what was that black that we used for the cape there, add a bit of water, there we go, to make it darker. Then I'm going to come in, so you can see the difference between the pale grey we used earlier and the dark grey we used on the cape. And we're just going to come in and we're going to do some bits just so that it makes him look a little bit more three-dimensional, really. There we go. If I go in here with that, got some bits. I'll go do his other hand with the dark grey as well. Do his neck maybe. And a little bit of his face. Oops. Well, quite a lot of his face. So he's got the pale grey and he's got the black, and then he's got this darker grey as well. I'm going to do the same just up here, just a little bit. Now, coming on to Robin, I'm going to make his hands a bit darker here, because they are a bit pale. A little bit in his hair as well. We had a small accident when drying. Elizabeth says it clearly wasn't we, it was me. Right, so I'm just going to let that dry for a second. Right, now it's the last bit, and this is a really, really bright red, and I'm going to mix both my reds to get this. So actually I might just stick with that one. Let's see, that's about right. Maybe a bit of this red as well, this orangey red. Yes, that's it. I'm going to go round these bits first. And this is the last bit of the paint. And what we're going to do now is we're going to bring it all together with a Sharpie. Now, I'm not going to do it all because it'll take me ages. And this is a bit that I want you to really relax over doing. Oh yeah, and that actually, Elizabeth just pointed out that actually comes down here as well. Right, so that's all the painting. So if you come over onto Batman, what I want you to do is to really bring out all those shapes. We're bringing them back now from the paint that we put in earlier. And a Sharpie or a big black pen will do this really well, really effectively. And if you have a look, I'm going to go over all of it. I want it to look really cartoony, you see. And if you have a look at the bit that is going to finish on now, the pause bit, you'll be able to see all that in there, because we're going to go over all of it. Like this. Bring it all, and it'll just bring the whole figure together, going around those eyes as well. Now, I'm not going to sort of do it all, but you can see here, you can even put a few, you could put a few more bits in. You can go around all the shapes around. Robin, go around everything in your Sharpie, make it look like a really sharp cartoon-like picture. Hope you enjoyed that. And isn't it brilliant to see how when you start off with these really simple basic shapes, you can create something that's really quite complicated. And that's what drawing and painting's all about. It's about simplifying things right down and really believing that you're going to be able to do this, because you absolutely can. Right, we are going to be back next week. Now, when we did the daily draws, some of our most popular daily draws were our Roald Dahls. We did George's Marvellous Medicine, Fantastic Mr. Fox, The Witches and Matilda. They were all really, really popular, but we thought, Elizabeth and I thought, we want something really special to finish off as our last Roald Dahl from these house-filmed studio weekly draws. So we're going for Roald Dahl again, and it's going to be next week, Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. So make sure you come back and join us for that. See you then.